Hello, how's everyone doing today? Okay. Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
Good work out there. I guess you ain't completely stupid. How you do it, huh? How you find the time? I mean, I don't have a moment to spare. I'm robbing, I'm rustling, I'm killing folk. I can't do half the jobs I hear
Hey
about.
everyone,
If I
how you
had
guys
more
doing?
time, I'd be the famousest man in this country. At my age, too. Well, there's some folks moving stuff up
I
into
know I
Judy
started kind of
River.
late, but
It's
I'll
worth a
start the
whole
stream
lot,
on
I
Sunday
hear.
a lot
You
earlier.
get that stuff from me.
Will I play
Pay you
Hitman
fair
PSVR
for it.
2? I don't know, dude. I haven't been much into VR. I
I
have the original PlayStation VR, but I haven't played it in years. Like, it's been, a long time since I played it. And I did play one VR game. I played the Ace Combat VR, but the thing about that is, I started getting sick when I started playing that. Like, I was just, not feeling good. Thank you, AP, for the super chat. Maybe I'll give, I have to play the two Sniper Elite VR games. I gotta play those games one day. No. What's the Fallout 3 DLC playthrough? Hey, James. Later this year, I'll do it. Steal the canoe. Okay, let me... Drop that like and subscribe. Thank you, Menace.
Hey, get out of here! Are you gonna wish you had? Too soon to shoot straight, huh?
People have said GTA 6 will be $100. I didn't believe it, but after seeing Nintendo is going to charge $80, $90 for games, it's pushing the market further. Well, the thing about that, Alien, I think I'm going to make a video talking about this, but I'll make the video, probably sometime, next week, because I'm just honestly so sick of this, of just people, and I'm not talking about you, dude, but I'm more sick about, like, the clickbaiters who are just constantly talking about that, saying, GTA 6 is gonna be $90, it's $90, like, the clickbaiters just constantly keep talking about that, and it's starting to get really annoying. But basically, to answer your question, I don't think that GTA 6 is gonna be $90. I think there is going to be, I think that the GTA 6 limited edition, like the collector's edition, that probably is going to be, over $100, whatever it is. They're probably going to create some big collector's edition because they know people will buy it.
What's your name? So I can carve it in your skull.
Thank you, Alien, for the super chat. But yeah, Alien, I'll probably make a video talking about this because it is getting a bit ridiculous with these clickbaiters. But look, what I'll say is, don't believe it, dude. And basically, to answer your question on this here, look, I know that Nintendo is going to start charging $80 to $90. I get that, but that's for a brand new console. That's like Switch 2. So there's a difference between like a single game and like, a whole new console. Because like when a console comes out and like, games are being charged at that rate, that's going to be a lot different. So I don't think that GTA 6 is going to be like, $80, $90. I don't think that. Thank you, Colin. I'll see you. Take care, dude. When GTA 6 comes out, Rockstar should make it where you can pick up and carry dead bodies, then hide them for a more stealth approach so guards don't get alerted. See, I would agree with you, yeah, Nicholas, yeah. And not only that, there should be better stealth options in the game. Like, there should be, like, a bigger delay, because a lot of times when you get spotted, there's, like, only a 1 second delay until, like, all the enemies know. And I think that's kind of ridiculous. Metal Gear Solid 2, when am I gonna play it? Before August. So I still got like 3 months to play it. I'll play it before the Metal Gear Solid 3 releases, the remake. I'm drinking beer, can you? No. I don't drink really any alcohol except wine and champagne, and that's on rare occasions. But you agree with what I'm saying, Alien? Oh yeah, Tyrone Magnus, I've been subscribed to him for years. He's a really good guy, one of my favorite channels. Rival players can attack the canoe, oh no. Brother, they're charging games that way, 80 for digital, 90 physical. Nintendo's pricing the Switch 2 like it's the PS7. Nintendo's greedy. Isn't Nintendo that company that was, like, striking YouTubers for playing their games or, like, copyright claiming them? Was that Nintendo? Or was it somebody else that was doing that? Thank you, Alien. Thank you, Christine. GTA 6 no post-ops. Oh, they should still have the post-op van. Just don't have it in, as a cell mission. It was Nintendo. Oh, okay. Honestly, the only thing that's gonna make a company like Nintendo listen is just don't buy it. Their console, don't buy their games. When is Mafia: The Old Country coming out? Is it June when it's coming out, Mr. Jesus? Pat, I didn't tell how much Sony was gonna charge me to fix my PS5. Wait, are you going to Sony now? Brandon, it might be better to get a new console at this point. That's what I'll say. If you want to fix it through Sony, I mean, go ahead. But, yeah. Do I watch anime? I haven't watched in some time. Pro, would you ever live in Las Vegas? Yeah. That's actually where my parents are moving. Moving either next year or early the year after that. But I wouldn't mind living in Las Vegas in, like, the fall and the winter, but I probably could not handle the summer. How much do you eat? You know, just breakfast, dinner, supper. Usually me, the thing about me is my mood is, I guess my mood is controlled a lot by how I eat. If I'm in a good mood, I'll eat more. If I'm, you know, in a so-so mood, I guess I'll eat less. In bad mood, I won't eat a lot. Thank you for being my friend for 8 years now. Hugs. Thank you, Christine. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for supporting me for 8 years. Thank you, Christine. Well, Brandon, your PS5, right? Your PS5 works. It just can't, the disk drive is just broken, right? But, like, digitally it works. So, like, you can download games and play them, right? Everything else works, just the disk drive is broken. There's no release date yet. Okay, Mr. Jesus. Yeah, just the disk drive. Brandon, here's what you should do. Instead of taking your PlayStation to Sony, why don't you just sell the PS5 that you have right now? You can just make like a Facebook Marketplace account, and you can just, put your PlayStation 5 for sale. Make sure that you write in the title that disk drive is broken. But like, write, when you're selling your PS5, just write, disk drive broken, it works digitally fine. Make it like a low price, make it like $75 or something like that. And like, somebody will come by and they'll buy it. They'll think, I'm just getting a PS5 for this digital, and they'll take it off your hands, and you can just use that money towards buying a new PS5. So you can at least get some money back from it. You can do that. So that's what I was saying. Instead of like, going to the bother to fix this disk drive, just, get rid of it and, yeah, and put it towards a new PS5. I don't know how much a PS5 with a broken disk drive is selling for, Brandon, but just go online and look up how much a PS5 sells for with a broken disk drive. If everything else in the PS5 is working, but the disk drive is broken, just look up how much it costs, like how much people are selling those for, and then just sell it for like a little bit less than that, and then just put the money towards a new PS5. That's what I would do. Well, he already went to a store. He already went to a repair store, and they couldn't fix the PS5. Thank you. Yeah, and I like grinding in this game. I like playing Red Dead, but yeah, but this game, they've abandoned this game. This game's been abandoned for some time. Oh, okay, Mark. I wish you well. The marketing push was being cheaper than the competitors. Now they're just trying to line their pockets, because they know their fans will buy anything. Well, they... the thing is, I will say about this is, I don't understand... I don't mean this rudely, Patrick, but why would you want to live in a desert like Vegas? I like Las Vegas as a city, and honestly, I wouldn't say, when you live in Vegas, I wouldn't say that you really live in the desert. If you're living in the city, you're living in a city, so you're not really living in the desert. It's like, honestly, saying that you live in the desert because you live in Las Vegas is like saying that you live in the mountains because you live in Denver. So that's basically what it is. You're still living in a city. You're not really living in a desert.
What's your problem? Just what is your deal?
Just now at work, there was this, old guy who started to get mad at all because the kiosk wouldn't print receipts, yet I could literally print it, and she was ranting about America and the government. What? Well, thank you for the super chat, Blinded Eagle. I'm carrying all of these, okay. Do I watch real-life crime documentaries? I've watched in the past, but I haven't really watched any in a long time.
I got places to be.
Okay, need one target. Okay, take her. My mom's good, Christine. Thank you for asking. My sister's birthday is on Monday. Happy birthday to your sister. I do agree with you a little bit, Alien, that, like, what Nintendo is doing might push other developers to do the same, but there's gonna be massive backlash if they do. And I will say this. What I don't understand is I don't understand this greed. You know, I just don't understand it. I don't get it, personally. Look, you know, and I'm not just talking about, you know, Nintendo, I'm just talking about greed in general. Look, I like money. Everybody likes money. I don't think there's nobody who doesn't like money. But you can be rich and make plenty of money and not be a greedy scumbag. But I don't get, like, why, you know, some people just have this, you know, unhealthy obsession with money. Do you think America would have won if Truman didn't relieve MacArthur? If Truman didn't relieve MacArthur, we would have gone into World War III with China. So that's why Truman relieved MacArthur. Money just corrupts people. No, I don't believe that. I think if you're a good person at heart, I think you're gonna be a good person whether you're extremely rich or whether you're very poor. So I don't believe in that. I don't believe that money changes people. I don't believe that, like, authority changes people either. I don't think that. I think if you're a good person in general, you'll be a good person regardless of the position that you're in. I think that if anything, I think that money might just show what a person is truly like. That's what it might show. But, like, for me, for example, I own 2 rental properties, right? And both of my rental properties, both of their leases are actually expiring this July. And guess what? Even though both the leases are expiring in July, I am not raising rent at all. Rent is staying the exact same. I could raise rent if I want, but I'm not doing it. And the reason I'm not doing it is because, you know, I have enough money. I don't need, you know, the extra money, and I don't want to, you know, piss off my tenants. There's no need for me to make more money yet, and while pissing off my tenants and making their life harder. So that's it. I'm just, you know, keeping the rent the same. And the year after this, I have no plans on raising rent also, too. So
Hey, you don't belong here. What's that?
oh, seriously? The target is running away already? Okay.
Get away from me.
Please be a landlord. We need more, in Germany. We need more people like you. What? Why? Are landlords in Germany really greedy? Where did this target run off to? Oh, wait. She's over there now? Wait.
Leave me be.
Rent is really high. Nobody can afford an apartment. Ugh.
No
That
way,
sucks.
shit.
Let me ask you something on this. What are property taxes like in Germany? Are those really high? Should I hold off on buying my first car due to tariffs? Thank you for the, super chat, Mista. Just give me 1 second. I'll answer your question. I just want to deal with this right here. Thank you for supporting my channel for 8 months. Because I just can't focus with all these NPCs shooting at me.
Too late for mercy now, dead man.
Oh,
Okay, now let me answer your question. About, like, should you wait to, hold off on buying my first car due to tariffs? Well, the thing is, though, is that the I don't want to get into the politics on it really right now, on, like, what's, if it's good or bad. The one thing I will say about it is, you would only really look into that if you're planning on buying a new car. If you're buying a new car, that might be, like, your only concern on that. But Mista, if this is your first car, in my opinion, you should not be buying, your first car should not be a new car. It shouldn't, because you're gonna get scammed. Because, like, most car dealerships are just scammed customers so badly, with, like, new cars, and especially younger people. I'm assuming you're a younger person, like, especially take advantage of young people. And do you know what, actually, speaking of this is actually, it's really good that you asked me this question. It's very relevant, because, you know what actually happened the other day? I got woken up the other day in the morning. I got woken up at like 10 o'clock in the morning. Usually I like to sleep in. I wake up at like 12 or 1 p.m. But I got woken up at like 10 a.m. It was like a couple days ago. And there's this, this guy, very heavy New York accent. I recognize his New York number, and he just, like, starts talking to me. Hey, is this Patrick? And I was like, yeah. I was like half asleep. He's like, who is this? And he's like, hey, this is your old buddy Joel. And I was like, Joel? I was like, I don't know any Joel. Like, who are you exactly? And he's like, you don't remember me? He's like, I sold your dad a car like 5 years ago. He's like, hey, I got a new lot. I'm selling a bunch of cars right now. What kind of car are you driving? Like, he starts sweet talking me, talking like really fast. And I was like, I drive a 2013 car. And he, and what he does, he starts telling me, oh, your car could break any moment. And I told him, I have only 40,000 miles in my car. And that kind of, like, threw him off, because, like, I almost never drive. So, yes, I have a 2013 car, but I only have a little bit over 40,000 miles, because I barely drive. Because I literally, I work from home, and I only really drive when I need groceries. That's really the only thing I drive for, is groceries and gas. There's really nowhere else I go. I'm not a big driver person. But what ended up happening is I hung up on him, and what I should have done to troll him is, if I should have told him I'm not interested in the car, and if he wanted to hang up on me, I should have said, wait, why are you hanging up? I thought you were my friend. You don't want to catch up with me? You don't want to talk? Like, I should have just started saying that. You said you were my friend. You don't want to keep talking to me? Like, I should have just started saying that to him and see what he says. But, like, yeah, that's what he was trying to do. He's trying to sweet talk me. Hey, it's your buddy Joel, and I sold your dad a car 5 years ago. It's like, I don't remember you. It's like, it's so creepy that they kept my record there, too. They kept my record and my dad's record and all the, that stuff, like, 5 years later, and they're now calling, harassing me and trying to get me to buy a car. I don't need a car. I will drive my car until basically it breaks down. That's when I'll drive my car until. But to answer your question, though, Mista, what I will say is, if you're a young person and this is your first car, don't buy a new car. Don't, because you're gonna get scammed and you're gonna get put in a debt trap. There's all of these, car dealerships. They do all this shady stuff. Literally, the one thing I will say to you is, you can find some really good deals on cars from people, like individual sellers. So, like, if you find, like, you can find a good deal for a car from somebody, like, selling it on Facebook Marketplace, for example. There are people who sell their cars on Facebook for cash. Like, they'll sell older cars, like, 10, 15-year-old cars. But a lot of those cars are still good. And they still work. The problem is, a lot of people don't want to buy really old cars like that, and they say, oh, I want something new, or they think the car looks ugly. But, like, your first car should really be a pretty cheap car. I'm not saying it should be a terrible car, but there are plenty of used cars that you can buy that are very affordable, that are, like, older cars, and you can find a good deal. The one risk that you have on Facebook Marketplace, the one risk there is that you might run into somebody that's, there's a lot of stuff broken with the car, and they're not telling, like, they might, like, they might leave out all the stuff that's broken, and then they'll basically throw it on you. So that's a concern, too. What I basically, one thing that I did to avoid basically getting scammed, when I purchased my first car, when I purchased my first car, what I did was I purchased a used 2013 BMW car. I was at a dealership. I really liked the car, but this was in 2017. And what happened is, this was a nice car. It wasn't like a super fancy car, but it was a nice car. But what I did was I got one of my best friend, so my best friend that I grew up with, his brother, older brother, is a mechanic, and he fixes cars. And I basically asked him, I was like, hey, you know, can you do me a favor? Can you come by with me and, you know, just take a look at this car and just make sure that there's nothing wrong with it? And, you know, he took a look at the car, and, you know, he told me there's nothing really wrong with this car. The car's fine. It's in good condition. And, you know, and what happened was, you know, dealer sold me the car. And I tried to give him $50 for, like, you know, coming with me that day and helping me out, but he didn't want the money. He just wanted to help out. But that's basically it. Is if you know somebody, like, in your family, if you have, like, a family member or, like, a friend that knows cars, just, like, ask them one day. And just, like, hey, can you do me a big favor? I'm thinking about purchasing this car. Can you come with me, like, and just take a look at the car and just, you know, tell me what you think? Because there are things that people hide. But that's basically what I'll say is avoid the dealers. I think that you could probably find a really good deal on Facebook Marketplace, or there's other people, not just Facebook Marketplace, there's people, you know, selling cars, you know, because when a person is selling their car, you'll probably get a way better deal buying from an individual person than buying from a, you know, car dealer. And also, it's a lot easier to negotiate with a person, like an individual seller, than it is with a car dealer. Car dealerships can be really annoying to negotiate with. Let me see here. Hey, Patrick, hope you're doing good. Just got done with some Red Dead and just won some poker and just done selling my moonshine and trader. Oh, hey, Jacob. Thank you for sponsoring my channel for 1 year and 3 months. I'm talking about renting, not buying. Well, Puxy, I'll actually answer your question in a moment here, too. I know you were talking about renting and buying. That was actually why I was asking about property taxes specifically. But what's your opinion on Gavrilo Princip? I'm not trying to defend his action, but people must understand that World War I will still happen regardless. You're talking about the guy who assassinated Franz Duke Ferdinand and his wife. You know, he was a revolutionary part of a Serbian terrorist organization. He fought that Sarajevo should be part of Serbia. But a lot of people in Sarajevo didn't identify as Serbs. They identified as Bosnians, too. So, you know, there's that. So, you know, Gavrilo Princip was claiming that he was fighting Austrian imperialism by assassinating, you know, Franz Duke Ferdinand and his wife. But in reality he would have supported Serbians being imperialist towards Bosnians, too. So basically, it's, I don't think that he intended for World War I to start. I don't think Princip was really young. Princip was 17 years old when he actually killed Franz Duke Ferdinand and his wife, and that's why he didn't get the death penalty, because under Austrian-Hungarian law, somebody that's, you know, under 18 cannot get the death penalty, even if they commit a murder. So that's basically why he didn't get the death. But he didn't live for very long. He died in prison. He got sick in prison. He died in prison only a couple years later. Why do atheists have so much contempt and hate for God if they don't believe in him? I respect people's free choice of religion, but I'm just curious. Thank you for the super chat, Sweet Pumpkin. I don't really want to get into the religious debate. The only thing I will basically say on this is I will say that there are really toxic people that are, you know, atheist and religious. You know, both. And I've seen it personally. I've seen both of it. I'm an agnostic, somewhere in the middle. And I've seen it both. I've seen both really toxic religious people, and I've seen really toxic atheist people. But I will say there are a lot of atheist people that they act like there's no such thing as toxic atheist people. There very much is. There are some atheist people that can be just as toxic as some religious people. There was, for example, there was in my town in New York. There was a holiday display like a number of years ago, and what it did was it had like baby Jesus in front of it and like, you know, Saint Mary, and there was like an atheist group that I know that was like making such a big deal out of it, saying, oh, you know, this shouldn't be here, you know, this is, you know, out of place. And I was like thinking, it's not a big deal, it's just like a few figurines, but they were just making such a big, like, I could care less. It was like that was there, but they were making such a big deal out of it. And that's what I'll say, is that there are really toxic people on both sides. Toxic religious people, and there's toxic atheist people. And there are really toxic religious people out there that think that if you don't have a religion, they think that you're going to hell, and then they think that in general that you're a bad person. So that's what I'll ultimately say on it, is I don't want to really get into religious debate. The only thing I say is I've seen, you know, really toxic people on both sides of that. What about toxic agnostic people? I have never really seen a toxic agnostic person. I haven't. And I will say this. I think that while toxic agnostics probably exist, they're probably the least toxic, religious group because of the fact that they don't know. They say we don't know. We don't have the answers. So that's honestly, I think the world would be a way better place if people just kept to themselves. That's probably it. If people didn't try to force their religion or force their viewpoint on other people, I think the world would probably be a way better place. Hey Pat, it's a massive thunderstorm across Indiana, and 2 days ago there was tornadoes in Carmel, Brownsburg, Indianapolis. That stuff was crazy. Oh. Yeah, I've seen tornadoes before in the Midwest, and it is pretty scary when that stuff happens. And they rapidly form. They will come out of nowhere. Thank you, Isaiah. Now let me see the German guy that was in chat here earlier. What was his name again? Let me see here. Puxy, are you still here? Don't you think debate on these subjects makes everyone more educated? No. Because I will tell you something is religion is one of the worst things to debate. And the reason that religion is one of the worst things to debate is because you are not going to change anybody's mind, no matter what. It's like if somebody is like, dead set in their religious views, or if somebody's dead set on atheism, you are not going to change their mind, no matter what side you are on. People change their religious viewpoints over time, so on their own they change it. They don't change it through debate. And all a religious debate does is it just creates drama and conflict, and people start insulting each other. So that's basically what I'll say about it. Is it's not a you're not going to change anybody's viewpoint having a religious debate. There was this what happened was I will tell you guys something. No matter what you do though, no matter what you do, there are things that you will not, change anybody's viewpoint on. Like another thing that you probably will never change anybody's viewpoint on is you won't change anybody's viewpoint on eating. Like vegetarian and meat eating, you will never change anybody's viewpoint on that. Like, no, you won't. People will have to decide that on their own. And basically what it is I had this one guy message me like last year. He like sent me an email to my personal, business email, and he overheard me on a live stream. A person asked me on a live stream, do I eat meat? And I said, yeah, I'm a meat eater. And this guy sent me a message. To be fair, the guy wasn't being toxic. He just said to me like, hey, I run like a vegetarian channel, and I looked at this channel and the guy had like 1,000 subscribers, and he's like, would you like to debate, have a friendly debate with me on like, vegetarianism versus like, meat eating? And I basically replied to him and I said that we are not going to have an agreement whatsoever. I said respectively is like, no matter where this goes, like I am not going to change your mind and you're not going to change my mind, so there's really, no point to this. So that's what I'll say is that there are things that you cannot change people's mind on, and all it's going to do is it's going to offend people and piss people off. That's why I tend to stay away from that. Like, politics, religion, and meat and vegetarianism. That is like, those three topics are like the most drama, the most amount of drama and the most amount of conflict for those three topics. So much. I have met very nice Christians and very toxic ones. Yeah, and it ultimately, ultimately it depends on the, it ultimately depends on the person. There are toxic people from, there are toxic people from, there are toxic people from all sides. Basically it. I will, don't forget sports teams. Well, I don't know. I'm not into sports, so I haven't seen, that personally. Oh, I know about that, Gunner. Yes, I'm aware of that. I'm not able to play with you for a while. I'm not in a good mood. I feel heartbroken. I just got from me fired, and I just got divorced. I just find out she's a player. I just want to be alone. I hate my life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear about that, Agent Reaper. I do appreciate the super chat. If you ever want to talk, you can always talk to me on PlayStation. Just message me and we could talk in a party. I'm really sorry what you're going through, and I hope that there's something I can do to help. I've faced some toxic atheists and toxic religious people who criticize me for being secular. There is no winning. Some of them act so arrogant, yeah. And I think, you know, I will tell you something. I will tell you something else here. As somebody who likes history, because I like history a lot. Um, a lot of people have asked me in the comments section, what is one of the most like misinformed things, like one of the things that people lie about a lot when discussing history, and I think I have an answer to that question. And this is actually a pretty surprising one. But one thing that people lie a lot about in history actually comes to Hitler's religion. Hitler's religion is probably like one of the things that people lie about the most. Like it's one of the most, you know, debated things and one of the most lied things ever. Now, I have seen, like, for example, I've seen Christians that they leave comments and they say that, like, you know, oh, Hitler was like an atheist and then therefore this means all atheists were bad people. And I've seen atheists that leave comments and they say that, oh, you know, Hitler was a Christian and this means that Christians are all bad people. You know, both statements are stupid. But do you know what the reality is? The reality is Hitler actually was not an atheist, and he actually was not a Christian, and he actually hated both. He hated both atheists and Christians. So the ironic thing about that is you have both atheists and Christians saying, "Oh no, Hitler was a Christian. He you know he hated atheists," and then you have atheists saying, "Oh, you know, he was a Christian," or, you know, blah blah blah, back and forth. But in reality, he really hated Christians, and he really hated atheists. If you look at Hitler's policies, for example, Hitler outlawed the German Freethinkers Association, which was the largest atheist group in Germany, had over 100,000 members. If you were a part of that group, the Nazis would arrest you. And on top of that, what Hitler did was he closed a lot of Catholic churches down. He really hated the Catholic religion specifically. Hitler hated all Christianity, but he tolerated Lutheranism more. He really hated Catholicism. And what Hitler did was he ordered all Catholic schools in Germany to actually remove the crosses. So crosses were actually removed from Catholic schools. And Hitler had private talks with Martin Bormann, who was his secretary, and Martin Bormann actually wrote his thoughts down. And Hitler specifically said in that discussion, he said that Christianity is one of the worst things that happened to Germany. That's actually a statement that Hitler said. It was actually recorded in Hitler's table talks. So what was Hitler's religious views? If he wasn't an atheist and he wasn't a Christian, we don't really know. The only thing that we know is that he hated both. He hated both Christians and he hated atheists. My theory, I personally think that he was like a pagan. He probably believed in the ancient Germanic gods. That was probably it. But I see so many really stupid comments. I see really dumb comments of people saying, oh, you know, he was a Christian, and other people say he was no, he wasn't an atheist. He was not a Christian. He hated both sides. He despised Christianity. He despised atheism. He literally hated both sides. But yet people constantly will say, oh, you know, he was a Christian or he was an atheist. No, he was neither. He hated both. Let's see here. Thank you, Suspect 13, for the super chat. Weren't a lot of Poles Catholic during World War II? Yes, Poland was primarily a Catholic country. And also, here's another thing. What Hitler did was Hitler had sections of concentration camps specifically for Polish Catholic priests. So, like, there was Polish Catholic priests that had their own section in a concentration camp. It was, like, a section specifically made for Polish Catholic priests. And so, like, when I hear people say, oh, you know, Hitler was a, you know, a Christian, I'm like, how can you say that when, you know, he does stuff like this? But that's basically it, is that people lie about his religion all the time, but in reality, he hated both of them. He hated both Christians and he hated atheists. Thanks for all the content you give out. My question is, how many outfits in total do you think you have in every playthrough you've done? I have, probably like 50 or more outfits. I have so many. Some of the outfits I've reused for, like, other games. Like, I've combined them for, like, a few other things to make it, you know, to use it for, like, a different game. But I have so many different costumes and outfits. Oh, Puxy, are you still here, by the way? I want to talk to you about the rent. You were asking me the question about the rent. Thanks everyone, but I want to be alone. I want sobbing and depressed, long story situations. Well, I hope that everything is okay, Agent, and I'm sorry what you're going through, and again, you can talk to me on PlayStation anytime, just message me if you want to talk to me in a party. Is there anything I can do to help? Just let me know. Been seeing your 2017 GTA Online series dealing with toxic kids. You handle it like a grown person. Life rewarded you if your channel prospered. Happy people ain't hating, and hating people ain't happy. Thank you, Sweet Pumpkin, for the super chat. Thank you. But also, to answer your question earlier, Mista, if you buy a used car, the tariff prices aren't really going to affect that. So, like, there's a car that's already here. That's what I'll say ultimately. With the looming tariffs and the insane cost of game development and raising prices, do you believe the gaming industry is headed for another crash like in 1984? I think it's a real possibility. I don't know. I don't think so, Fernando. I think that games are going to monetize themselves much more. Like, adding these microtransactions, I think they're going to do a lot more of that. So I think there'll be a lot more microtransactions in games. I understand that you don't like to talk religion, but I don't understand why Jewish is the most hated religion in Europe in the early 20th century in World War II. Thank you, Mr. Jesus, for the super chat. It's mostly jealousy. It's a lot of Jewish people were very successful. They ran very big businesses, and what happened was like where a lot of the anti-Semitism ultimately comes from is it comes from people being jealous of a lot of people that are more successful from them, and basically the Nazis, for example, were the ones who created a lot of this. And what Hitler would do is Hitler would point to some rich Jewish businessman or some rich Jewish doctor, and he would say, you know, the Jews, they have all of the money, you don't have any money to the Germans. And that's basically what caused a lot of the anti-Semitism. It was just jealousy. It was like they saw people that were successful, they were doing well, and then they couldn't understand why they weren't doing well, and so they basically create a lot of this hatred and a lot of this racism for Jews. Thank you, Mr. Jesus, for the super chat. Oh, Puxy, I gotta answer your question about the rent, right? What I will say, what I'll say about the rent here, Puxy, you were asking me earlier about rent in Germany, and I asked you about property taxes in Germany. But the reason I asked you about property taxes, I know that you were asking me specifically about rent. But property taxes actually have a lot to do with rent. So I just wanted to ask you again, are property taxes really high in Germany? Are they? Do you believe $80 to $90 games should be pushed back by everyone? How much farther can the prices realistically go up? I don't think that the games are going to be like $80 to $90 for like PlayStation, Xbox. I know Nintendo is doing that, but I think it is getting a bit ridiculous, the amount that they're charging for these games. Yeah, it is greed, but I don't really know what else we could do to stop it. Most expensive city in the country, I'm assuming Berlin, you mean? Let me go to this location here. I'm doing good. Well, look, here's what I'll say about this. My father's family is mostly Muslim. My mother's family is mostly Catholic. What I will say, here's what I'll say about this, is that a lot of people don't understand how to differentiate between Muslims and Islamists. A lot of people think that Muslims and Islamists are the same thing. They're not. Somebody who's a Muslim is just somebody who's they practice the Islamic faith. That's it. They follow the Islamic faith. They're not an extremist. Somebody who is an Islamist is somebody who's an extremist. They have extremist views. They believe that like Islam should control the government. They believe in religious laws, like they believe in Sharia law, for example. And that's what people don't understand. There's a difference between a Muslim and an Islamist. A Muslim is just somebody who practices the Islamic faith. An Islamist is an extremist. So Islamists are not good people. Muslims are fine people. So people don't understand that. They think that Islamists are the same thing as Muslims. Are not. Let me see here. Hey Pro, I bought a 2014 Chevy Cruze from the dealership for $10,000 because I didn't know about buying a car in the first place, and I thought buying a car from Facebook Marketplace would be very risky. Buying a car from Facebook Marketplace is risky, but you can find some really good deals on there, like really, really good deals. Are you Jewish? No, I'm an agnostic. My father's family is mostly Muslim. My mother's family is mostly Catholic. I have only one Jewish person in the family who was my aunt, who married my uncle. But she's not. She does not practice the Jewish faith anymore. She's an atheist, so I don't have anybody in my family that's Jewish.
If it ain't my faithful dog, you always get the job done.
Destroy supplies.
Right,
destroy
Not
this one.
having second thoughts, I hope. Okay. This should be good for the both of us. Good for you, because you'll be
How were
paid.
Polish priest sections of concentration camps different than the regular? They weren't different in any. They really weren't different in any way. Everybody that was put in a concentration camp was going to be killed. They were going to basically be worked to death and killed. What the Nazis basically did was they separated groups in concentration camps. They had
no matter what they pay me.
In concentration camps, they had like a place for Jews, and then they would have another place for like Polish Catholics, and even like the Polish Jews, they would not be in the same section as like Polish Catholics, for example. And then they might have had another section for Polish priests, and another section for gypsies, another section for people that are gay, another section for like Soviet prisoners of war. So like they had like different they had different prisoner detachments in the concentration camps, but everybody was going to be killed. I was gonna answer Puxy's question here. Let me answer it here again. Puxy, listen, here's what I'll tell you right now. What I would do if I was you is, look up what the property taxes are in your city. If you live in Berlin, you said that you live in the most expensive city in Germany, which I'm assuming is Berlin. But if you live in the most expensive city in the country, then the property taxes in Berlin are probably really high. Because property taxes oftentimes are based on property value. And big cities also have high property taxes, but also they have high value property. And so that means that the property taxes by default are going to be really high. Property taxes actually affect rent a lot. They do. In my experience as a landlord, I can tell you property taxes have a huge effect on rent. Huge effect on rent. What I'll say about the property taxes here is that I have watched so many YouTube channels, of like business people, and they're constantly talking about like what's causing the really high rent. And whenever I like watch these YouTube channels, they always say, oh, it's it's inflation, it's the lack of housing, which does have a factor. It's location. If it's in like a busy location, if it's a busy location where the rental property is, rent is going to be more because it's a busy location. If inflation does play a role in it as well, and the lack of housing does play a role. But one thing people are not talking about is they're not talking about property taxes, and I don't understand why no YouTuber is talking about that. But property taxes do have a very high effect on rent, even though you as a renter are not paying property taxes. It has a huge effect on your rent, because the thing is though is that every single landlord wants to make a profit. If a landlord is not going to be making a profit, they're not going to be a landlord, because there's no point. If you're not making money, there's no point in being a landlord. But basically, whatever the rent, if you look at in my country, for example, in America, there's a lot of states that have very low property taxes, and then there's states that have very high property taxes. If you look at states that have very low property taxes, almost always the states with very low property taxes have very low rents, almost always. And the states with really high property taxes, guess what? They have very high rents because people want to make up their money. They want to make money from it. And if they're not making more money than the property taxes, well then they're going to charge really high rents. Usually people want to make a good amount more than the property taxes itself. For example, my parents' house here in New York, this house is like a small, middle-class home that was built in the 1950s. You would think that my parents are living in a palace based on the property taxes. The property taxes on my parents' house is $18,000 a year. $18,000 a year. That's what the property taxes are. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And so, again, my parents are not rich people. They do not live in a mansion. They are working-class people, and they pay $18,000 in property taxes a year. If somebody was to rent out this house, whoever is renting out this house has to make more than $18,000 a year. So that means that they're now going to be limited on how much they can specifically charge on rent. So if somebody charged $2,000, charging for rent, which would probably never happen, but that did happen, $2,000 for rent, that would be what? That would be $24,000 a year? No, that would not be worth it. It wouldn't. You have things like insurance you have to pay for. Also, you have things break in the house. Usually, landlords want to make double. So literally, is the rent in this house? If this house went up for rent, the average rent would probably be like somewhere around $5,000-$6,000. That's how much it probably would be. So that's what I'll say about it, is that property taxes have a huge effect on rent. That's what people don't understand. And so landlords want to make more money back. But also, another thing I'll say about this is that a really stupid thing that states do, really stupid thing, and I was really surprised that my state in the Midwest did this as well, because my state in the Midwest is typically small government, lower taxes, but basically, my state in the Midwest, they actually charge you, I think it's like 10% more on your property taxes if you are running a rental property. So if your property is a rental property, you pay 10% more in property taxes. And the thing about that is that, how does the government know if you're running a rental property? Because it's not your primary residence. You're not living there. So if you don't have it set as your primary residence, then the government knows that you're renting it out, and they're going to charge you like 10% more. And now think about it. If they charge 10% more for the property tax for rentals, as a renter, as somebody who's living in the rental property, you're not paying the property taxes. But do you think that most landlords are going to take that amount and pay it? No. What they're going to do is they're going to pass it on to the tenant. So what the government is basically doing is, the reason that the government charges landlords more in rent is because the government wants their cut. The government just wants to make more money. They see somebody's making money from their house, and the government wants their cut. And what the landlord is going to do, the landlord isn't going to lower their rent. The landlord is going to pass that cost on to the renter. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that if you got rid of property taxes, if property taxes were abolished, property taxes did not exist. So like, this house, for example, like I said, $18,000 a year. I'm visiting my parents right now in New York, but if there was no property taxes, let's say there was no property taxes in New York, right? I could rent this house out for like maybe like $2,000, $2,500, and that would be like, half of basically what everybody else is renting it out for. And then other landlords would do the same thing, because there's no property taxes, we're not paying any of that. We can, make a lot more money from the house, and we can lower the rates. And what's going to happen is all the other landlords in the area are now going to have to compete, because nobody's going to want to live in a $5,000 house if all the other houses are renting out for $2,500. So that's basically it. So I would say that one of the things that the government can do to fix the housing crisis and lower down costs is to get rid of property taxes or lower them extremely. And that's the problem with property taxes. I personally never liked the idea of property taxes. I think that property taxes are un-American. I think they're anti-American, because this idea of America, the American dream, you own your own piece of land, you start your own business. I think that's what the American dream has been. And basically, if the government is basically charging you like rent, they're basically saying, oh, you have to pay us this property tax, every single year, and if you don't, we're going to take your house from you. Do you really own your own house if you have to constantly pay a tax to the government and they'll take it from you? You don't really own it. It's like you're, paying rent to the government. So that's why I never liked property taxes, because like the idea, it's like you don't actually own your own property. So that's ultimately what I'll say about it. Pat, you're very smart. Well, thank you, dude. Don't Tatars usually have Asian features? You're well, a lot of Tatars look like they're from Central Asia. But a lot of Tatars also can be white. Like, you know, it's like, I guess I consider myself a Tatar. I'm half Tatar. I'm half Slavic and I'm half Tatar. My dad's a, you know, Tatar. My mom's Slavic, but I guess I look more Slavic than I look Tatar, maybe. But I do consider myself a Tatar and a Slav. So I consider myself both. But it's, but yeah, my grandma, you know, my grandma wasn't white. She wasn't Slavic. She's Central Asian. She was from Poland, but she's, you know, she was a Tatar. She was 100% Tatar. How much do you think GTA 6 will cost? $70. Could I understand Russian? I understand if somebody's speaking Russian, I understand a lot of the words that they're saying, but I won't understand what they're saying, if you know what I mean. So like when they're saying send this to me, I'll be able to understand a bunch of the words, but I won't understand what they're saying. I understood what the the Soviet advisor in Black Ops 1 when he's torturing Bowman and Woods, I understood what he was saying. That I did understand completely what he was saying. But I don't understand a lot of the other ones. My dad speaks fluent Russian, but I don't.
Ain't a soul gonna warn you.
I missed some super chats. I'm sorry. Let me take a look in a moment here. Take out the remaining enemies. What? Oh, I have to buy ammo. I'm basically running out of everything here at this point. How do you feel when Gary ran away from SpongeBob? Oh, the episode where Gary left SpongeBob. I know the episode you're talking about. It's actually really sad, how SpongeBob forgot to feed Gary. It was actually one of the saddest SpongeBob episodes. But SpongeBob was such a great show. The old episodes were so good.
How goes it?
Did I hear about a high school kid who got stabbed at a track meet? Yes, I actually heard about that. Like, honestly, I don't know what's wrong with some people these days. Like, resort to violence like that. But like, both of them were like 17 years old. You know, one's dead and the other one is basically going to spend the rest of his life in prison. And for what? For, you know, arguing over seats. So it's stupid, but, you know, he decided to do that. He decided to attack the kid, and now he's gonna pay. He's gonna pay for it with the rest of his life in prison. He's gonna look that dumb kid is basically gonna look back on that for every day in his life when he's be sitting in that cell and be thinking, you know, I threw my life away for something so stupid and I took somebody else's life away. How did I come up with the CJ's bag lore? Oh, about that. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. About that, I'll tell you this. I can't believe there was a lot of people that thought I was serious. Like, I looked at the comment section. There were some people that were pissed over that video saying it was a terrible lore video, but they didn't even realize that I was joking. I wasn't being serious in that video. But the thing is, though, a lot of people have told me that I am, like, the best person at trolling. I'm better than anybody else because of the fact that I have, like, this personality that I always sound extremely serious when I'm discussing anything. So when I'm talking about anything, discussing anything, I'm just always pretty serious about it. And people, and I guess because of that, it's like people cannot tell when I'm trolling or when I'm actually being serious on something. And so I guess that's why I've easily trolled people before. But yeah, that entire lore video about CJ with the bag, that was fake. I was not being serious. I tried to make it seem like an actual lore video, like how I usually do lore videos. So I guess that's why people had a hard time trying to see trying to tell if it was real or not. But yeah, about that, I was thinking about like what kind of April Fool's video can I make exactly, because every year I make an April Fool's video. And I was thinking about what can I do this year. Last year I did a video where I got GTA 6 early. It was an April Fool's video. But this April Fool's I wanted to do something else, and I was thinking, why don't I do an April Fool's lore video? And I was thinking about, what's a really stupid topic I could do a lore video on, like something just really dumb. And I was thinking, why don't I do a video on like what happened to CJ's bag? And that one, it actually worked out pretty well. I'm thinking next April Fool's I make another lore video, and the lore video I make it's gonna be called "What Happened to CJ's Mom's Blender," GTA San Andreas lore explained. He's probably not gonna get the death penalty because he's 17, but he's gonna spend most of his life in prison. When's the Max Payne lore video coming? Sometime this week coming up. This new week coming up, Gunner. Did you guys think that bag lore video was funny? Did anybody here see it? Did you think it was funny? Who's more evil, Blackwater, AUC, or both? Maybe AUC, because AUC has done, AUC has just done a lot of horrific massacres. Blackwater has done massacres too, but I would say probably AUC because of their brutality. I would say probably AUC is probably worse. Thank you, Angelo, Angelo Sola. Yakuza 0 got remastered with a co-op online mode and new story cutscenes. Really? How does that work? How does co-op work? Would you ever consider doing the Ghoul cosplay the next time they have the Fallout meetup in Nevada? I think it'd be your best cosplay. Thank you, Amateur. But I will say this, I think I'm gonna keep doing Volpace, because Volpace has been my favorite cosplay from Fallout so far, and that's it. I'm not a big guy, so I kind of fit like Volpace's build much more. Volpace was one of my favorite characters in Fallout New Vegas, so I think I'll keep cosplaying as him. That's who I was last time, but. Oh, DHC, hope your day was awesome. Will you do a lore video on what led Dex to leave the Saints for Ultor? Maybe. I don't think there might be that much material on that, but I could probably think of something to do on that, DHC. What are your thoughts on the death penalty? It's crazy that it takes over a decade on average to process the execution. Here's what I'll say about the, oh, hey, Ananda. Hey, what's up? Chess Pro, jak się masz, tu Ananda, zapytałem się o coś po polsku, zyskuje, pytanie jak, minął dzień. I understand what you said in Polish. You were asking me, how am I? You're Amanda. You wanted to ask me in Polish, and you wanted to ask me how my day is going. I remember you, Ananda. I remember you. You're from India. But you told me that your grandfather was actually a Polish refugee who actually settled in India after World War II.
Got some blood on you just there. Hey, careful there.
Oh, and what is that going to be on Suscat? Is that going to be on PlayStation? What question was I answering here before? Oh yeah, the death penalty question. What I'll say about the death penalty, here's what I'll say about it. The death penalty is a very controversial thing. I will say this is, I will tell you that a lot of people who are, like, for example, like, against the death penalty, they're not exactly truthful on the reason why they're against the death penalty. Like, for example, like, a lot of people who are against the death penalty, they will say that the main reason that they're against the death penalty is because innocent people have gotten executed before. But the thing is, that's not the main reason. The main reason they're against the death penalty is not because innocent people have gotten executed before. It's because they just believe it's morally wrong. Like, for example, a lot of the people that say that innocent people have gotten executed, yes, it's happened. But those same people, if you basically showed them, like, somebody who 100% did it, they 100% committed, like, a murder, they will still be against the death penalty. So that's what I'll say about it, is the main reason that people are against the death penalty is for moral reasons. They believe that it's morally wrong, but they will say, like, the innocent person argument a lot of times, just to try to prove their point. But about the death penalty, the reason that it takes so long to execute somebody is because if you put somebody life in prison, you can at least correct the mistake later on when, you know, you can get the person out of prison, however long it takes. But if you kill an innocent person, then that's it. You know, you can't bring them back to life. So that's why the death penalty takes so long, because there's so many appeals, and when the appeals process basically just gets completely worn out, they will get the death penalty. And so the death penalty, like, you know, it's like 15, 20 years usually. That's how long it takes to execute somebody. What I will say personally, do I think the death penalty is just or not? I will say personally, my viewpoint is I think that it is, I think that it should be up to the family. So I think sometimes prosecutors will actually talk to the family, and the prosecutor will actually ask the family, do you want me to pursue death penalty charges? And if the family wants yes, the prosecutor should do it. If the family doesn't want it, the prosecutor shouldn't do it. So I think it should be ultimately up to the family to decide. Some families might not want death penalty, and the reason they might not want it is because if somebody gets a death penalty, what happens is the person gets put in an appeals process, and the family member has to come back. The family has to come back to every single trial to identify the person, and during the appeals trial, and they have to see the person who killed their family member. And some people cannot take that. They would rather just put the person in prison for life and not have to ever see them again. So that's why some people prefer the person be life in prison instead of getting the death penalty. But I will also say this about the death penalty is, if an innocent person gets executed, it's happened before. If an innocent person gets executed, I don't think that's really the fault of the death penalty. I think that's more the fault of the courts and the detectives who messed up. Like, the prosecutor, the courts, and the detectives who messed up the case. So, like, if an innocent person gets convicted, I don't think it's really the death penalty's fault. I think it's more the system's fault. Like, the people in charge of the investigation, they messed up really badly. And I think there should be charges brought. So, like, if an innocent person gets executed, I think there should be charges brought against the people who got them those charges. But that's what I would say. I wouldn't really blame it on the death penalty. I would more blame it on the courts and the detectives who messed up the case. I'm curious what you thought when you saw Reznov in Black Ops 1. Well, I knew there was something off about Reznov in Black Ops 1. When I first played it as a kid, I knew there was something off about him. I didn't know that, like, I don't want to spoil it because I know some people are watching and haven't seen it the first time. I knew there was something off about him, but I didn't expect that the big twist that happened. I didn't expect that. So I knew there was something off about him. But also, how did I figure out that there was something off about Reznov? How did I know? I knew in the payback mission, the one right before Rebirth Island, when Mason and Wood steal that helicopter and they start blowing up, you know, the Soviets and the North Vietnamese, and then they push towards Kravchenko's compound. I knew that there was something off about Reznov in that moment because of the fact that when you push up the staircase, like Reznov talked about how much he wants Kravchenko dead, but when you push up the staircase, and like you were fighting Kravchenko, when I was a kid and I saw like Kravchenko hits Mason with the chair and then starts fighting Woods, I thought that Reznov was about to burst into that room and tackle Kravchenko. That's what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't happen. And I was like, where the hell is Reznov? I was like, Reznov, where are you? So I was confused on why Reznov wasn't attacking like Kravchenko in that scene. And then like Woods falls out the window with him with the grenade, and then like Woods appears in like in like a shadowy figure. He's like, I've got you, Mason, you're okay. And then Reznov just appears like, Mason, are you okay? He's like, Kravchenko is dead. And I was like, okay, there's something wrong here. Like I didn't fully understand what was going on, but I was like, something's not right here. So that's basically it. I kind of thought that there was something off about Reznov the first time that I was playing. I just couldn't figure out what it was, but I knew there was something wrong. But people make mistakes, and having the death penalty removes the chance to correct it. I will also say something to you, Raphael, about that. Having the death penalty also removing the death penalty gives murderers shorter sentences. You might think that it doesn't, but it does. And I'll tell you why. Through plea bargaining. If you have the death penalty in, there are a lot of gangsters out there, like cold-blooded killers. These guys, the second they hear death penalty, the second they hear it, they will plead guilty. A lot of these gangsters, because they don't want to be executed. So a lot of the gangsters would rather live out the rest of their days in prison than actually be executed. And so what the gangsters will do is they'll plead guilty and they'll be sentenced to life in prison. But if you remove the death penalty, you remove that extra layer that they could now plead through. So now what are you going to offer them exactly? The gangster will say, oh, why should I plead guilty if I'm going to get, I want a deal. I want to get out of prison. I want to get out of prison after like 30 or 40 years or something like that. So now, like, if you have the death penalty, you can basically tone it down and say if you plead, you'll get life in prison. But if you get rid of the death penalty and you only have life in prison, they're a lot less likely to plead guilty, and then you're going to go through the whole trial process. So dangerous people are actually going to get out of prison earlier. After a few decades, murderers will eventually get out of prison. So that's also a thing that could happen.
Dumb son of a bitch.
Have you seen the new Wings of Redemption stunt? Yeah, I heard about that. People told me that he assaulted his wife. I was like, what the hell? Did he get punished for it? Did he get arrested? What happened?
Would this client be living or dead?
He got fired from what? He's a YouTuber.
Shit for brains.
Is Dragovich more evil than Makarov? No, Makarov's worse than Dragovich. His podcast? What do you mean his podcast? Would you explain a little bit? Okay, Raphael. Have I heard of the serial killer from South Carolina? Are you talking about that guy that like killed like 2 girls with like a baseball bat and he got killed by firing squad recently? Is that what you're talking about? Is that the case you're talking about?
I'm gonna get out of these ropes and I'm gonna strangle you with
Oh,
them.
it was some other podcast? Okay. What, did his wife press charges? I might play the Phoenix Wright games one day, Teddy Roosevelt.
Damn it all! Still kicking, I see. Well, don't make no difference to me. This is yours.
Later today, it'll be up, Suscat. Later today. Is Dragovich a psychopath? Yeah, kind of. Wait, but the person asking me about the South Carolina killer, are you asking me about the guy who got executed recently with the firing squad? Is that who you're talking about? I beat Kanan Lynch to an extreme. It was hell. I bet you raged in the airport, didn't you? The airport is the worst one. The worst mission is the airport. The airport is honestly worse than Shang-Chi's tower. Like that airport mission on extreme difficulty is the worst. Do I play any war sim games? Hope you're doing great. Yes, I only play one simulator game. It's Hell Let Loose, which I don't know if you say that's a simulator. I kind of consider it more of a simulator. It's really realistic, but Hell Let Loose is the one I play a lot. Is Reznov a good guy or a bad guy or somewhere in between? I think he's somewhere in between. I think he leans more towards being a good guy though, but he does some questionable things. Why don't I drink? Oh, it's not for me. I've seen people in my family struggle with alcoholism, and on top of that, I've seen how alcohol ages people, and I don't want to deal with stuff like that. And also, I think it's a waste of money, personally. Well, soda is really unhealthy. The thing is, I tried to do as much as possible, for my health with eating, and that was, no drinking, no smoking, no soda, and the thing I did is I didn't give up fast food though, because like I was thinking I gave up soda, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I can have fast food then. So like I've already given up a lot of the other stuff. And so I'm not gonna, yeah, I enjoy fast food. I don't eat it every day, but I like fast food. So it's like, fast food is what I'm never gonna really abandon. Is Hudson a good guy or somewhere in between? He's more of a good guy. He does questionable things. Remember he sacrificed himself so that, Woods and David Mason could live. Reznov, somehow being a Marine always confused me. Wait, what Biscuits, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, I know about that game, Gunner. But I never played Rising Storm 2. I did play Rising Storm 1. The Rising Storm 1 was the Pacific in World War II. Does going to college make you successful? I would say no. It depends on what you do. If you want to be like a doctor, a lawyer, something more technical, then yeah, you're gonna have to go to college. But there are plenty of ways you can make a lot of money without having to go to college. But I would say this. The main problem with this is the college elitism. The college elitism has infected people's minds. It's really infected people's minds. It's like a disease. The college elitism, it's the disease of the mind. Because people think that if they don't go to college, they're going to be failures. And not only that, they think that other people that don't go to college are going to be failures. Like there are people that have so much college elitism in their minds that if there is somebody out there who makes more money than them, but they didn't go to college, they still think that person's a failure. So like that is literally that is some people's mindset, unfortunately. If your university lecture was in Polish and the assignment has to be in Polish, do you think you can handle it? No. I could understand what the professor was saying. If a professor was teaching a class in Polish, I would understand everything that he's saying, but I could not write in Polish. I have a hard time writing in Polish. So I'm very fluent, I can speak the language, no problem, but writing is a completely different story. How does buying stocks work? You would make a brokerage account and, you buy shares in a company. And the idea of the stock market is that if a company does good, the shares of the stock go up, and you sell the stock. If the company does bad, shares go down, you lose value in money, and you either hold or wait until it gets better or sell. That's the basic idea of the stock market. Thank you, Nicholas. Have I heard of the Colombian conflict? Which Colombian conflict? Are you talking about the one with FARC? Is that the one you're talking about? There was a few of them. What do you say when people say money doesn't buy happiness? I would say money makes your life easier. When you really think about it, does money make your life easier? Yes. It's a fact, it does. It might not make everybody happy, but it makes the life easier. Yeah, and the thing I don't understand about this, do you know what made me cringe? What like really bothered me is there was people that were protesting about that guy who got executed in South Carolina, and they had pictures of that guy when they were protesting. So like they were protesting against the death penalty. They had a picture of a guy who brutally killed like 2 girls, and they were saying like, don't execute him, we're against the death penalty. Like, I'm like, you can be against the death penalty, okay, fine. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you're against the death penalty, but when you're protesting, why would you hold a picture of a murderer, somebody who killed 2 girls so brutally? Like, why would you do that? Act like this guy's some innocent victim. If you're gonna protest against the death penalty, then protest against the death penalty, but don't hold pictures of a murderer. Like, that's just, they're holding pictures of it, making him seem like he's some innocent, good person. Like, the guy was an evil man. He was evil. So it's just, I don't get that personally. That's made me cringe so badly when I saw, like, the protesters holding pictures of, like, the murderer, and honestly, the protesters didn't have pictures of the victims. They didn't. They had pictures of the murderer instead. That's gonna get executed. Ugh. Thank you, Sir RJ. Thank you for the super chat. Damn it, why can't you remember? That's from Black Ops 1, Hudson. I try to eat a lot of salads too, Andrew. The Nazis hated anybody that was not a German Aryan top. They thought that they were superior to everyone else. Step 8, Reznov, freedom. Yep. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that there was atrocities that American soldiers committed in Vietnam, but South Korean soldiers had a higher rate of committing atrocities than American soldiers did. A lot of people don't know that. Did I have any supervisors that stole from the store in retail? Yeah. But not like, there was one supervisor who, there was 2 supervisors that I knew who were stealing. And technically, you can make the argument that technically both of them weren't stealing, but I think they were. But basically, there was one supervisor, and honestly speaking, I was not sad to see her go, because I really didn't like her. But she got fired. What happened with this supervisor is her best friend would come into the store, usually like, once a week for shopping. And what would happen is when her best friend came in for shopping, she would basically, get like $100 worth of like, stuff. And the supervisor would always like mark it down, manufacturer's coupons to like, from like $100 to like $10. So that would happen like, once a week, and, the store lost hundreds of dollars of merchandise because of that, every month. So I would say about that, is that stealing technically? It's a scam they're running. What is it? The other supervisor, there's another supervisor that I know, he wasn't stealing physically, he was stealing hours, which is what he was doing. So like actually stealing work at the job. And you're probably wondering how is he stealing hours exactly? What the supervisor was doing is, every single Saturday night, I would do sale signs. And I was really good at the sale signs. I was really quick with it. I could finish thousands of sale signs in the entire store in one day. As long as I was not disturbed, if I did not get bothered, if nobody, like, you know, bothered me, had me do other stuff, I could finish all the sale signs in one night in the store. And the supervisor that I worked with, what he would do is every single Saturday night, he would find some kind of excuse to get me to do something else. And most of the time, it was his work. I'll see you, Armando. Take care, man. A good night. But the supervisor that I worked with, he would find some kind of stupid excuse to make me do his work. And you know, being the naive kid that I was, I would end up doing his work. I wouldn't complain. And then I wasn't able to finish the sales signs in time. And when I wasn't able to finish the sales signs, the store would close at 10 o'clock. He would basically lock the door to the store, and he would say, Patrick, you know, you didn't finish all the sales signs, and now we can't leave until you finish the sales signs. One of my coworkers, who was really rude and nasty, he never backed me up, and he would basically accuse me of holding everybody else up when it was the supervisor who was doing it instead. And he would complain, he'd get to go home, and then what would happen is the supervisor would then hold me for like another 2 hours. And at that time, the supervisor wouldn't even help me with the sales signs. He would instead go up in the office and just sit on his phone. And the reason he would do that, he would try to sabotage me and prevent me from doing my work, is because he didn't want me to finish the sales signs. He wanted every night at 10 p.m. he would tell me, you know, we can't leave right now, you have to finish the sales signs. And he would do that on purpose to milk overtime. So he would just go to the office, text on his phone for 2 hours, forcing me to do sales signs, and then milking it to get overtime. So he was basically stealing hours. So that's another guy that I knew, and it was really annoying what he was doing. Really, really annoying. Pro, I want to say, clickbaiters, Mr. Boss, F the world, and all the, and all are weirdos. And when GTA 6 comes out, it'll be like Red Dead 2, not Cowboy Life, but modern, I say. Here's what I'll tell you guys. Oh, I have split point ammo on this. Perfect. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm gonna make a prediction right now, right? A prediction. And I am 95% sure with this prediction, like 95% sure that this is gonna happen. Like, I'm so confident in this happening. I'm gonna make a prediction right now. Thank you, MZG. But it's irrelevant to your super chat. So, what a lot of people have been saying, when GTA 6 comes out, there's going to be GTA 7 clickbait. I don't think that's going to happen. But there is going to be clickbait. But the clickbait is not going to be GTA 7 clickbait. Do you know what the clickbait is going to be instead? When GTA 6 comes out? The clickbait is going to actually be still GTA 6 clickbait. But it's going to be something else. It's going to be single-player clickbait. What I guarantee what's going to happen is there's gonna be YouTubers who are gonna make videos after GTA 6 comes out, when people beat the story, beat the campaign, the main story, and there's gonna be people that are gonna make videos and they're gonna say, you know, new DLC coming out on GTA 6, you know, play as Lucia prequel DLC, or, you know, Jason prequel DLC. That's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be tons of videos like that that are gonna be popping up. It's like, you know, new story mode expansion for GTA 6, and you're gonna see a bunch of those videos coming up. And remember, this already happened before. Remember with Red Dead Redemption 2? This happened with Red Dead 2. With Red Dead 2, after people beat Red Dead 2, a few months after Red Dead 2 in like 2019, there was YouTubers, like including Bossman After World, who were making like videos, and they were constantly saying, you know, remember that Red Dead 2 clickbait? It's like, you know, Javier Escuela DLC, Javier Escuela, like, you know, prequel, play as Dutch DLC, Dutch prequel DLC, play as Sadie Adler, you know, play as Charles, like, you know, new story mode expansion, Undead Nightmare 2. Like, people constantly kept putting videos up like that. New, you know, single-player DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2. And there were so many videos, like, so many videos, ridiculous, of this Red Dead Redemption 2 single-player content. It never happened. It never came out. And I'm telling you, that's exactly what's going to happen with GTA 6. They're going to do the exact same thing again, and they're going to instead say, oh, you know, some stupid, like, you know, prequel DLC or some other, you know, nonsense.
Lord, save me. Anyone, help! Help me! Christ's sake!
Hey, Pro, I just want to ask, is your Yakuza 0 videos monetized? You are cursing a lot in the videos, and I thought you're just reading the text. Yeah, most of them are monetized.
Help me!
The thing about YouTube, one thing I've learned, as long as you don't curse within the first few minutes of the video, usually it won't get demonetized. So if you curse like halfway through the video, it's not gonna get demonetized. Do you know what playthrough almost every single part got demonetized? Almost every one. Like, there's one playthrough I did on YouTube where, like, I made almost no money from it. But I don't regret doing the playthrough because it was still fun to do. The playthrough that I did where almost every video got demonetized, The Sopranos. When I played the Sopranos video game, The Sopranos Road to Respect, like, almost every single part got deleted because there was so much cursing in that game and so much foul language. It's like almost every part got deleted or demonetized, I should say. And what happened is if the videos didn't get demonetized over the cursing, they got demonetized over the music because there was so much music. And the thing about that game is there was no way to turn off music in the settings, so the music was just constantly playing in a lot of the cutscenes. And it was really annoying, and it was just everything would just get demonetized. Like, for example, like when you go to the Bada Bing and you talk to like Sil and Tony Soprano, like it's like in that scene, like the nightclub, the Bada Bing, it's just constantly playing like some music and it gets copyright claimed. You cannot mute the music in that scene. You can't. And so there's no way to like really, you know, get rid of the music because you're trying to listen to what Tony is telling you. And so it's like every single part's either get demonetized because of like the copyright claims or get demonetized over the foul language. So the Sopranos playthrough I made almost no money on, but it was fine. I still had fun playing the game and people enjoyed it.
Damn it!
Was killing the Romanov family justified? No. I would say about it is, I would say that Nicholas deserved to get executed. But I don't think the kids deserve that. And I'm not a communist. I don't support the communists. But I think Nicholas should have gotten executed for other reasons. Not for, like, you know, the communists executed Nicholas for being, like, a monarch and, you know, capitalist and all this other stuff. But I would have had Nicholas executed for, like, war crimes. Because Nicholas was a murderer. That's what people don't know is, you know, Tsar Nicholas, he was a murderer. He killed a lot of people. And like one of the worst things that Tsar Nicholas did was Bloody Sunday. I think that was in St. Petersburg where that happened. But what basically happened in Bloody Sunday was there was a Russian Orthodox priest that was like leading like a petition of workers and they had like a petition to the Tsar to like improve working conditions in the factories, and they were like marching towards the palace, and the Tsar's army just opened fire and killed so many people, and the Tsar did nothing to stop it. Nothing. He approved of it. So like so many people, innocent people, got shot and died, and that wasn't his only atrocity. You know, the Tsar killed a lot of people in Siberia. He deported a lot of people to work camps in the Siberia where they died. So he was not an innocent person. But the kids definitely didn't deserve it. You know, you can't blame kids for, you know, what if their parents are evil. So that was so I don't feel any, you know, I don't feel any guilt for, like, you know, the Tsar dying, but it's more my heart goes out more to the children that died. Isn't Bloody Sunday in Ireland? No, there are actually a few different Bloody Sunday events. Look up Bloody Sunday in Russia. Just look it up and it'll come up.
Job well and truly done. They're going to face a judge. I got your bounty money here.
They blew themselves up, Gunner? What? But, The Sopranos road to finger pointing and beating everyone up. Yeah. I wonder if Joey in the Sopranos game and like Kiryu and Yakuza, if they teamed up, they could beat everybody up. Because they constantly beat everyone up. How was your dad able to speak so many languages? You said in a stream that your dad is able to speak Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, Belarusian, English. Yeah, my dad's weakest language is actually English, but he can speak English as well. But the reason that my dad's able to speak so many of those languages, my dad grew up speaking Polish, and he learned Russian in school, and I don't know how he learned Ukrainian and Belarusian. I'm guessing it's from learning Russian too. It helped him out, but yeah, I know he can speak to everyone. Like when my father visited Poland, my father could speak to a lot of Ukrainian people lived in Poland even before the war that's going on right now. But a lot of Ukrainian people live in Poland. My father could speak Ukrainian to them, no problem. So that was so my father can speak all of the languages and he understands them fine. Did you know there was North Korean pilots who flew for the North Vietnam during the war? No, I didn't know that. But I know that there were Soviet pilots that flew for the North Koreans in the Korean War when they flew the MiG-15s, and because the Soviets didn't trust the North Koreans with the MiGs. How much money to fight Jake from your old school? What? You're talking about Jake, that bully kid? Herlock Sholmes is a bit insane, but that's what's great about him, too. Oh, I missed your super chat. I'm sorry, Vertigo. Let me look. How is Fantavision? And I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, have fun in Phoenix, Arizona. It's April, so it's probably not going to be that hot yet still. Well, I put Fantavision's channel in my videos to watch the retail guy, right? I still haven't gotten the chance to watch it, but I promise you I will watch it, Vertigo. I'm sorry, I've just had a lot of stuff to do recently. The main character in The Sopranos was Bom Pensaro's son, wasn't it? Yeah, he was Bom Pensaro's son. Yes, this female supervisor was rude and nasty as well, yes. Let me ask you something else, Gunner. Yeah, I liked reading a lot of the comments, and I might do another video like the retail video in the future, Vertigo. Oh, Pinochet was evil. You know what Pinochet would do? Pinochet, what he would do is he would put people in helicopters and then just throw them out in the ocean. That's what, Pinochet would do. Is like a really horrible way to go. That was a form of execution that Pinochet was, you know, known for. Kiryu never killed anybody. True, but how many people did Joey kill in The Sopranos? Joey only killed 2 people in The Sopranos. Well, only 2 people. Yeah, he only killed 2 people in The Sopranos game. Now that I think about it. Wait, what, Mario? What's up? I was gonna ask you this, Gunner. What do you think about, like, the Vietnamese government, like, where they blame the U.S. for, like, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, and they minimize their role in supporting, like, Pol Pot? Because, like, it's kind of weird how, like, the Vietnamese government blames America for the Khmer Rouge being in Cambodia when North Vietnam had supplied them so much and had helped them so much.
Oh, hey there. Welcome back.
Yeah, Kane Lodge 2 is probably the second darkest game I played. Outlast is also a pretty dark game. Thank you, MZG. I see GTA 6 will be cool. My opinion stand. And you have your opinion, and we don't know what story will be, but it will be good on God, and look forward to it. Thank you, MZG. I'm gonna have a lot of awesome videos on GTA 6. Do supporter my friend, the Retroverse XL Patcher. Wait, who's that? Suppressor? Thank you for the super chat. Okay, let's see if I can beat this guy here.
I don't want to talk about it.
Hey, if it weren't for the bad, we wouldn't know when it was good.
These cards suck. Was Lyndon B. Johnson the worst president? He was a really bad president, but I wouldn't say he was the worst one. I can't believe they're charging $10 more for physical copies too. That's...
Them temperance women are back hounding us again.
Who was a better leader, Khrushchev or Brezhnev? Khrushchev. Khrushchev wasn't, Brezhnev was a lot more scummy. I would say that. Khrushchev wasn't a good man himself, but he was a better person than Brezhnev was.
So my pa's gone off wandering again. Not again.
So, yeah.
Do I know about the angry boat captain in Florida? I don't know what you're talking about. Man, he just keeps betting max and everything. This guy. Audit the Audit Walmart Motorcycle Helmet Police. Oh, Audit the Audit. I know. It's a YouTube channel where they react to police videos and they say if the police acted right or not. Wow, I didn't even get anything here.
Oh, well.
When will I do the Australian-American Warlord video? That's a good one. I could do that one. That one wouldn't be a hard project to make. I could probably make that one.
Onward.
Well, we did to Cambodia before Pol Pot was really scummy. If it wasn't for our support, they would have gotten that far, and maybe millions wouldn't have died. Well, what I will say, Gunner, is that America did not just lose the Vietnam War; they also lost the propaganda and information war, because of the fact that North Vietnam and the Viet Cong are portrayed as like heroic, good people, and Americans are just portrayed as evil. I'm not saying the Americans are perfect or they're, angels. But it's the fact North Vietnam was not some liberating state. It was very much an oppressive dictatorship, and the Viet Cong were a terrorist organization. And yet they are portrayed like, freedom fighters, good people, and they torture people. They cut people's heads off. And they're portrayed like they're, good people in history now. So, like, America really lost the information war in that. It's okay, Brandon. Not really, Jonathan. Damn. The South Vietnamese flag is treated the same way as the Nazi flag in Germany. You could get in trouble for flying that flag. What? That's ridiculous. But I will say this, in my country, in America, though, Gunner, a lot of Vietnamese neighborhoods have South Vietnamese flags, and a lot of businesses have South Vietnamese flags. Like, Vietnamese restaurants, Vietnamese stores have South Vietnamese flags on them. Please tell me that lore video on CJ's bag was an April Fool's video. It was an April Fool's video. It was a joke. Oh, man. Yeah, it was a pretty funny video to make. What bad things did Lyndon B. Johnson do as president? He escalated the Vietnam War. He got us, fully involved in the Vietnam War. He was really responsible for the draft. Who was better hunter? Yeah, I can do Battlefield 1 one day, Mr. Jesus. Can you post it again, Brandon? Wait, Hunter, you think that that South Vietnam was worse than North Vietnam? Pro Iron the best president? Well, Teddy Roosevelt is the best president of the 20th century. Well, yes, Teddy Roosevelt was the best president in the 20th century, I would say. Pol Pot was a psychotic Cambodian dictator and the most evil dictator in Southeast Asia. Literally, Hunter, there was a lot of people in South Vietnam that suffered really badly when North Vietnam conquered South Vietnam. Like, a lot of people, they lost their businesses, they lost their farms, the government took everything from them. The generations of families that have worked on businesses, worked on land, they lost everything when the communists came to power. There was people that were fleeing, towards the American embassy, like, fleeing towards American helicopters. And the American helicopters tried to evacuate as many Vietnamese as they could from Saigon, but they couldn't take everybody. If you ever watch Hey Arnold, there's actually a Vietnam episode in Hey Arnold. It's actually the Christmas episode. It's probably the best Hey Arnold episode of all time. It's probably the Christmas episode. Is that one? Did you ever watch that show, Gunner? But the Vietnam War episode of Hey Arnold, even though Hey Arnold is a kid's cartoon, that episode shows you what a South Vietnamese perspective is like in that episode. Well, there's a the story of Hey Arnold, it takes place in a big city in America that's mostly based on New York. And in the big city, the main character, he lives in a boarding house that his grandparents own, and there's a few different people from that live in the house. There's like a Czechoslovakian guy, there's an American guy, and then there's also a Vietnamese guy. And the Vietnamese guy is from South Vietnam. And there's one episode where it's the Christmas episode, and the only thing that the Vietnamese guy in the Christmas episode wishes is he wishes that he could see his daughter, because the show shows his perspective, like when he was younger in Saigon, and how the North Vietnamese were approaching, even though it's a kid's cartoon. And he tried to, like, run to, like, the American helicopters, and he couldn't get on them in time, and the American helicopter said that they could only take one person, so he basically gave his baby to the, American pilot, and he gave his child away so that his child could have a better life and could escape from the communists. Mr. Nguyen was his name, the Vietnamese guy in the show. And then Arnold throughout the episode tries to find his daughter, because his daughter is somewhere in America, so that he could reunite them. But look it up if you ever get the chance, Gunner. I'd really like to know what you think of it. Just look up Hey Arnold, Vietnam Christmas episode, and it'll come up right away. You don't have to watch any of the other episodes to understand that show, by the way. Just to watch that episode. Can you set a few examples of the female supervisor being rude and nasty? If you ever asked her for help, she would curse you out. Like, actually curse you out. One time there was the coupon machine was out of paper and a customer was complaining about it, and there was a really long line, and me and my coworker could not help her, and I called my supervisor, the really rude one, asking her if she could come down and change the paper in the coupon machine, and she basically yelled at me and said, "Are you effing idiots, incapable of doing anything right?" Like, she said something like along those lines, and I wasn't used to like getting yelled at like that. But she would never help you if anything. And if she needed help, oh, you had to drop whatever you were doing and help her right away. But she never helped you, and she would curse at you if you asked her for help. I was actually scared to ask her for help even when I needed it, because she would curse at you. That is a hostile workplace environment. I would sue her in the workplace. Record the conversation as evidence. Do not go to HR. Well, I worked in retail, and I doubt that HR would have done anything. And I didn't even have... And I wouldn't even think about recording the phone call the second I would call her. All I did was I needed help. I needed help from her, and she cursed me out on the phone. No, there was multiple times where she cursed me out, but that was... I never cursed at her once. Like, in all the years, I've never... Not once did I ever curse at her. I never even talked back to her, speaking of which, but I should have. I should have honestly talked back to her, and honestly, I should have just walked out. I should have just walked out of that job. That's what I should have done. My biggest regret is I stayed at that job for way too long. I don't deserve to get treated like that. Getting paid a little bit of a minimum wage and what I'm getting cursed out to. Ugh. Have you ever thought about making a history channel? I like that you aren't biased and go in depth to talk about both sides of conflicts. Thank you, Sir RJ. Well, I have bias. Everybody has bias. They do. Some people have more bias than others. Like, when I'm discussing the Vietnam War in, like, my Black Ops, perspective, I'm obviously going to be more pro-US because I'm an American, but I also talked about, like, I talked about some of the bad things the US did in the Vietnam War, like, Agent Orange, and, the My Lai massacre. But I did try to be as fair as I could. It's season 1, episode 20 of Hey Arnold. Oh, okay. Is North Vietnam in the 1970s or North Korea in the 1950s worse? I don't know. I don't know which one would be worse. What is that Panda Express cult, Pat? I'm new here. Thank you, Trat Bear. There was the Panda Express thing is apparently, like, there was a company that was making, like, its employees, like, strip, like, their clothes and, like, hug each other during, like, a training session. It was, like, really creepy and disgusting. It was, like, apparently, like, a real thing that happened, and they got sued over it. Oh, I missed a few super chats. Haitians in Montreal to escape Francis Bouvier. Thank you, Vitus. Was that the Haitian dictator? I know that Haiti had a military dictator at one point. I actually don't know that much about Haiti's modern history. I do know more about Haiti's history in the Napoleonic times. How would I react if Jimmy Kimmel became president of the United States? Oh, man. I can't stand Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like him. I just don't like his attitude. Honestly, Jimmy Kimmel, what I will tell you guys is Jimmy Kimmel just seems like such a fake person to me. Like, his laughter, his smile, like, you guys get that impression from him when you watch Jimmy Kimmel. Like, he just feels so fake to me. Like, it doesn't seem sincere at all. It's like, honestly, most of the late night comedians, I hate most of them. I don't like them. The only late night show comedian that I like is Conan. Conan I liked. I thought Conan was a nice guy. He was a good guy. Conan generally seemed like a good person. But like Kimmel he seemed so fake. It's just, I just didn't like him. My grandfather was in Vietnam, and I'm happy to say that a lot of the soldiers committed war crimes, such as a massacre of 250 to 500 North Vietnam citizens. Well, I think My Lai happened in South Vietnam. They were South Vietnamese civilians, but you're talking about the My Lai massacre. That's specifically what you're talking about. Let me ask you something, Hunter Evan. Do you happen to know what the Dak Son massacre was? The Dak Son massacre, that was actually a massacre of a village of Montagnard people. They're an indigenous people in central Vietnam. And this was a village that was allied with the US. And the Viet Cong really hated that they wouldn't help them. And what the Viet Cong did is they entered this village with flamethrowers and they burned people alive in their homes. You know, killing everybody, women, kids, just burning everybody alive in the village. And the Viet Cong killed somewhere around 250 people in this one village alone. They completely razed it to the ground. And then what they did was they blamed the US for it, and they said that the US had burned and destroyed the village. When the surviving witnesses had said that it was the Viet Cong that came in with flamethrowers and had burned the entire village down. Now, about the My Lai massacre, the My Lai massacre was really horrible what happened, and it's the My Lai massacre was the worst massacre committed by US troops in the 20th century. So, like, out of all the massacres the US committed in the 20th century, My Lai was the worst one. And every American soldier that was involved in the My Lai massacre should have been, executed. They should have all been put on trial, every single one, and all of them should have been executed. And it was a shame that they did it. Only one guy got convicted, and it was a lieutenant, and the guy who did end up getting convicted, he got convicted for 20 years, and then he got 3 years, and then he got put on house arrest, and he spent like 3 years in house arrest. So it was a shame, and they all should have been put on trial and executed. The North Vietnamese used that as propaganda a lot against the U.S. We should have made an example of those soldiers. Like, those soldiers should have been executed to show that we don't tolerate stuff like that. But unfortunately, a lot of them got away with the horrible things they did. But the point that when I'm talking about the Dak Son massacre, what I'm telling you about, it was like an entire massacre that was a village that was basically burned to the ground by the Viet Cong. And you could argue that the Viet Cong committed genocide against the Montagnard people, but you never hear about that. And you never hear about the Hue City massacre. The Hue City massacre happened in Black Ops 1. The Hue City massacre is the worst massacre of the entire Vietnam War. And it was actually not done by the US. It was done by the North Vietnam against their own people. So a lot of people think the worst massacre in the Vietnam War was done by the Americans. It wasn't. It was actually done by the North Vietnamese against their own people. And how many people died in the Hue City massacre? Somewhere between 2,800 to 6,000 people died. What basically happened is, during the Tet Offensive, the North Vietnamese forces were overrunning Hue City. And the city got overrun really badly. The Viet Cong were flanking the US, launching it from the South Vietnamese sides. And the North Vietnamese had occupied the city for about a month. And what happened is, when the North Vietnamese realized they couldn't hold the city, and they realized the Americans were taking back the city block by block, they thought that they were going to kill off anybody that could possibly be allied with the US, pro-US. So if you were, if you had a family member of yours that was basically like a police officer in the South Vietnamese police, they would execute your family member, and they would kill you too. And basically, they would bury you in a mass grave. And there was mass graves of people just found all around Hue City, thousands of people killed. And to this day, the Hue City massacre is not talked about at all in Vietnam. The Vietnamese government has completely covered it up. They act like the whole thing never happened. They think that, they act like it never happened, it never existed. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, that I don't know. If you're allowed to talk about it, Gunner might know if you're allowed to talk about it, he's from Vietnam. But that was, you never hear about that massacre, you never do. And a lot of, like I said, America did not just lose the Vietnam War, America lost the propaganda war in the information war. Communists are really good at making propaganda. Communists are better at making propaganda than anybody else in history. Communists are masters of propaganda. They're really good at propaganda. And so the reason that you never heard about the Hue City massacre is because of all the communist propaganda. That's the primary reason for it. So a lot of people think the worst massacre in the Vietnam War was done by the US, but it wasn't. It was done by the North Vietnamese. But you never hear about Hue City because, like I said, it's just all the anti-American propaganda. And I'm not a supporter of the Vietnam War. I don't think we should have been there in the first place. But the point that I'm making to you is that just because the US shouldn't have been involved in the Vietnam War doesn't mean that the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese are like good people and they're honorable people. They did some really, really bad things. Any lore ideas for the Las Vegas gangs in my series? The Musashi, Japanese tuners, Royals, Euro sports cars, and rockers, heavy metal muscle cars. Yeah, I would say this, about the rockers. We talked about them last time. It's in Las Vegas, right? So, don't you think that they would also drive around in like some big pickup trucks, like some really big ones, like in the desert? I could imagine something like that. And have you thought about adding like a biker gang? Because if you have like a series on like different gangs, like street racing gangs specifically in Vegas, you probably would have bikers. There's a lot of bikers in Vegas. A lot of bikers go to Vegas. So you might not include the bikers as like a gang to do races in your story, but you will include them as like, you know, bikers to like encounter in the story, like a specific biker gang that maybe the characters could run into. Have people made fun of your voice, Patrick? All the time. The U.S. government should not have dropped bombs on villages because it made the U.S. public want the government to pull out of Vietnam, and they eventually did, and North Vietnam won. Well, if you watch my playthrough of Black Ops 1, I say that the U.S. killed a lot of civilians with bombings in the Vietnam War. It did happen. A lot of civilians, unfortunately, died. But I will also say something about this. People talk about a lot of civilians, Vietnamese civilians the U.S. killed during the Vietnam War. That is true with bombings. But you know what people don't talk about is people don't talk about a lot of South Vietnamese civilians that died from bombings the Viet Cong did and bombings that the North Vietnamese did. Do you know what the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese would do? They would go into Cambodia, which was officially a neutral country. Technically, it was neutral, but it was more pro-Viet Cong and more pro-NVA. And what the North Vietnamese army would do, they would cross the border into a neutral country, Cambodia, violate that country's sovereignty, invade parts of Cambodia, and what they would do is they would set up artillery in Cambodia itself, and they would fire that artillery across the border from Cambodia into South Vietnam and hit villages and people in South Vietnam, South Vietnamese troops, South and American troops. And the Americans couldn't fire back because they were in a different country, in a neutral country. That's what North Vietnam did too. That's a war crime when you think about that. Like firing from a neutral country, like literally, like firing across the border from a neutral country at like American troops and that. So like, you know, that's what I'll say about this is, personally, I think that, you know, the U.S. did bad things in the Vietnam War. We probably shouldn't have been there. But the thing that pisses me off personally, what pisses me off is when people act like North Vietnam and the Viet Cong were like good people and they were good guys and they were honorable. North Vietnam and the Viet Cong did really, really bad things during that war. And just because the U.S. might not have been justified in being involved in Vietnam, that doesn't somehow make North Vietnam or the Viet Cong's cause just. You can have a war where both sides are bad. Doesn't just because you have two sides in a war doesn't mean that one side is good. That's what people don't understand. People think this is because the U.S. shouldn't have been in Vietnam. They think that automatically makes North Vietnam the good guy. It's not true. If you talk to a lot of South Vietnamese people and you tell South Vietnamese people that the North Vietnamese were good guys, especially Vietnamese Americans, they will get really, really pissed. Like a lot of Vietnamese Americans, they really hate communists. Is it true that the French were responsible for starting the Vietnam War? Yeah. America didn't start the Vietnam War. It was started by France. France were the one who started it. And because France did not want to let Vietnam go independent, Vietnam wanted its independence back after World War II, but France didn't want to let Vietnam go, and they wanted Vietnam to be a colony. They wanted to colonize their country. They wanted to steal Vietnam's resources. They wanted to occupy their country. The Vietnamese resisted. They were pissed, and the Vietnamese had a right to resist the French. You know, they were pissed. They didn't want the French in their country. Nobody wants another, you know, country colonizing them and conquering them. So that's what I'll say about it. But at the same time, as North Vietnam was trying to conquer South Vietnam, and the South Vietnamese did not want to be part of North Vietnam. So you have to also remember that too. Let me see here. You passed my comments? I'm sorry, Vertigo. Let me look. Gunner, are you here, by the way? Let me see Vertigo's comments. As much as I support America, I honestly feel like all the stuff with the Afghanistan after 9/11 should have just never happened. Thank you, Vanturas. What I think, here's my view on the Afghan War, what I think on it. I think that the Iraq War was stupid. I don't think we should have ever gone to Iraq. I think it was just a pointless and stupid, you know, idiotic conflict. It was started over nonsense. We destabilized Iraq and, you know, started a stupid war. When it comes to Afghanistan, I think Afghanistan was a lot more justifiable than Iraq. because we were looking for the people that were, directly involved with 9/11. But at the same time, I would say we stayed way too long in Afghanistan. I don't think we should have been there for 20 years. At the same time, we went to nation building. We started, building, their cities, building schools and hospitals, which is a nice thing to do. But our primary objective was to, get rid of the Taliban, and we stayed there for too long. And yeah, that's what I'll say about it. It ended really badly in the end. Let me see here. Vertigo's comments. Guyana, Jonestown mass suicide. Is that cult where they all killed themselves? Is that what you're talking about? Let me Google that. Because I know there was like a cult where people just, there was like a town where there was like this crazy cult and they just all killed themselves. Is that what happened there? Let me see here. Is this the one that you're talking about? Oh, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I would agree with you, Venturas. I think, Iraq, there was nothing justifiable about the Iraq War. The Iraq War was stupid. It was a completely dumb war, but Afghanistan was more justifiable. But we shouldn't we shouldn't have been there for that long. I would agree with you on that. I know about that. The Xbox always needed to be connected to the internet. You couldn't even share it, use games too. I know about that, Zombie. A lot of communist countries did, Gretty. What's your comment, Brandon? Well, the Iraq War was just senseless. We didn't need to be there. It was a, dumb. Thank you, Josh. It's okay, Phoenix. Well, it wasn't just because of that. I didn't dislike Jimmy Kimmel's a bunch of other things, but speaking of which, that game that I played, Mercenaries, that game was criticizing the Iraq War, that whole game, because the whole plot of the game was going into North Korea, looking for weapons of mass destruction, and it was completely based on the Iraq War, and it was a senseless war, just like the war in the game was. And at the end of the game, nobody wins the war. Like, North Korea collapses, and it just a bunch of different warlords come to power, all these generals, and everybody's just fighting each other, and the country's complete collapses, all their infrastructure is destroyed. So it was based heavily on the Iraq War. Do you watch animated movies? Sure, but I haven't seen one in a long time. No, I didn't look that one up. What's his name, Vertigo? Okay, Brandon. Yeah, I'm gonna play true crime games one day. A lot of people have recommended me them. I'll play them one day. Okay, Vertigo.
You hear about that old rancher? Got stomped to death by one of his cows. Never go the way you hope to, do you?
That's how it is, I guess.
Here.
Posse riding through town last week, dragging some helpless farmer by a goddamn rope.
Yeah, I know that, Gunner. And the thing is, the young the Young Turks did some really, really horrible, evil things. It was the Young Turks are a political party that existed in the Ottoman Empire, and the Young Turks were responsible for the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and they were responsible for the Ottoman genocide. So the Ottoman genocide was mostly pushed and done by the Young Turks, and it's kind of crazy that there's like a YouTube channel today and like a talk show that's like called the Young Turks. In reality, it was like a really racist, like ultra nationalist Turkish group that had killed so many people. I don't know what that is, Vertigo. I think, Brandon, if you're gonna get a new PS5, like a new one, you might as well just get the Pro. If you're gonna get a new one, but if you, if your PS5 wasn't broken, then I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're getting like a new one, might as well get the yeah, might as well get the Pro. Hope Hassan doesn't watch this. I don't care. That's the same guy who talks about how much he hates rich people when he like lives in a multi-million-dollar house. Do I like the Pro? It's okay. I guess I'll be wrapping up the stream here, guys. I'm a bit hungry. I probably want to get something to eat, but I'll answer any questions that you guys have. So before I go, I'll answer any questions people have. Thank you guys for the support on my channel and all the super chats and the likes and the views. It helps me out tremendously. You guys always cheer me up, and I love reading your comments and talking to you guys. Why did Lyndon B. Johnson drop out of re-election? Because he probably thought he was going to lose. He was a very unpopular president. He wasn't like Kennedy at all. Thank you, Mr. Nowhere. Next Ace Attorney is going to be later today, Suscat.
Evening, mister.
Well, yeah, they wanted to establish their own dictatorship, Gunner. What are your thoughts on Grazlu 00 being GoldenEye 07 with a Guitar Hero controller and steering wheel? What? I know the GoldenEye games, but, Grazlu 00? What is this? I'll look this up, but, Oh, Awano was a scumbag, but at least he had more of an honorable death. Oh, look, Grazlu 00, I'm seeing it here, yeah. What? He's a user who's famous for his GoldenEye videos, Well, I will tell you this, you know what game I would really like to see? I would really like to see Rockstar go back to the stories games. I would really like to see that. Because here's the thing, when GTA 6 comes out, we could get another GTA game in like the next 3 years if Rockstar actually put their heart into it. And when I say a new GTA game, I'm not talking about something like GTA, 6 again. They can make a spin-off GTA game, and they could do a Liberty City Stories, like another like one in the HD universe. They could actually go to GTA 4's map again. Like, I would love to go back to Liberty City in, like, a new story. And maybe they could do one where it's, like, in the, before the events of GTA 4. It's still in the HD universe. So it's, like, and you play as, like, one of the older characters. Maybe, like, Phil or Dwayne. Like, when Dwayne, you could play as Dwayne in the 1990s when he's running his crack empire or something like that. So that's what I'll say is that they could just reuse the map from GTA 4, add a few new things, add new cars, obviously. I think that would be cool. I think they could also do another Manhunt game, and I was thinking about where they could make like another Manhunt game, and I think a really cool Manhunt location. I think Alaska. Do you guys agree with me that Alaska would be a really cool location for a Manhunt game? I think Manhunt 3 should be set in Alaska if they make one, because Alaska is not really a setting that you think of when you think of horror games, but I think that Alaska would be a perfect setting for a horror game. Like, I think that, like, some small remote towns in, like, the Alaska wilderness, something like in the woods, and like some really small towns that you're like, going through and stuff like that. And they could add like a lot of different like gangs to that game. Like, I could imagine they could add some crazy hardcore survivalist gang in that game. They could maybe add like a biker gang. Maybe they could add like a Native American gang in that one. They could add like some crazy, Nazi gang coming after you also. So like they could probably add a lot of different gangs in Alaska. If they actually made like one in there, and they could maybe do it where there's like one mission where like it's like a blizzard or like a snowstorm, and you have to use the blizzard to like try to hide from the enemies, and you just kill them all one by one, something like that. I think Alaska would be a great setting for a Manhunt game. I think it would be. So I think something in Alaska I think would be a great yeah, maybe they could do a Russian gang. They could do something like Russians, some Russian mercenary gang or something like that. They could do that too in a Manhunt in Alaska. I could see that too. Something like that. They're being delayed because of the tariffs to Nintendo Switch, huh? Pre-orders. Yeah, I'll make a lore video on the Australian-American War. I'm doing a pro NCR playthrough. I see the Legion as just a big organized raider gang. Well, I don't like the NCR. I don't like the Legion either. The reason I like cosplaying as the Legion is because I typically like cosplaying as the bad guy when I'm cosplaying for like Fallout events. But I will my favorite faction in Fallout New Vegas is Mr. House. I would like Mr. House the most. I think Mr. House is the best planet of all the people. But I guess I'll be going here. Yeah, I could, Brandon. Is General Oliver from Fallout New Vegas evil? I wouldn't call him evil, but he's not a good person. He's a bad person. He wants to take over New Vegas. But I guess I'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. The hectic job of 10-minute delivery companies. I don't know what you mean by that one, Gazali. What you mean, like, they have 10 minutes to deliver something? That sounds crazy. In a way, maybe, Gunner. But I guess I'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And if you guys enjoyed this stream, do drop a like. I will have another part of Ace Attorney out later today. And I will also the next part of Black Ops also. And the next part of Black Ops, people are going to be probably really excited. Wait till you see my cosplay on the next part of Black Ops. When you see the Mount Yamantau cosplay, I created an outfit from Mount Yamantau mission. And I also have an outfit for Rebirth Island. For people wondering, the Rebirth Island mission, I have an outfit for that. So if you remember what the characters are wearing on Rebirth Island, and I think you'll really like the cosplay I have for that. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, do drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.